So I want to talk about what it means to be a human being. And this is a very important question because this is what we're going to be studying. And sometimes, you know, we don't even know what we're talking about. So a human being is a biological. What does biological mean? That means it's alive. And alive is different than not alive. Alive means that we take nutrients in, so we absorb energy. Absorb. No, yeah. Absorb energy. We transmute energy. Or transform. We'll say transform energy. And the way we do that is that we eat food, right? We eat food and we change that food from potential energy in the covalent bonds in the food into mechanical energy, meaning that we can move our muscles and some other things as well. So a human being is alive just like every plant and animal on the planet. But what really is a human being from a scientific point of view? And I say scientific as opposed to like spiritual or philosophical. Of course, a human being is composed, we'll start this way, it's composed of cells. Everything that's living is a cell or a set of cells. And a cell is the smallest living unit there is. It's sort of like an atom is the smallest unit of matter. The cell is the smallest unit of life. So we're composed of cells. How many cells? This is a good question. Does it matter? I think it does, and I'll tell you why. We have approximately 7 trillion cells in our body. Sorry. 70 trillion cells. Now, if you consider that every cell needs the same requirements as the most primitive cell, then we come into a problem. And I like to approach anatomy at a problems-based fashion. For instance, nature doesn't waste energy. So everything that we have in our body has a purpose. Every purpose is to keep these cells alive. Now we have 70 trillion cells. How are we going to keep all of these cells alive? There's the question. Problems based. How to keep them alive? Well, in humans, we use systems. These systems you're familiar with, like the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, the digestive system. What else do we have? The immune system, the nervous system, etc., etc. We have 10 essential systems, and then we also have the reproductive system, which on a population base is very essential to keep humanity alive. So the next thing is to understand what it means to keep these cells alive. Let's just make an assumption here that these are liver cells, deep within your liver. The main premise is that every cell has to be surrounded by water, or a water substance, a fluid. We'll say water. The first cells that were alive on this planet were developed in water. in the sea. And that water had minerals, it had oxygen, well, it didn't have oxygen at that time, but it had other gases. And how a cell works is that it has a membrane around it. It's a double layered membrane, and this membrane has to absorb all of its nutrients and excrete all of its waste. That's the only way to get things inside and outside of the cell to keep it alive. So every cell in your body has to be surrounded by water. In our body, we call it extracellular fluid. And extracellular fluid is part of the plasma. I won't bore you with that right now. But here we go. So if this is the cardiovascular, so here's the heart. Just trust me right now. This is the heart, and blood is ejected from the left ventricle into the aorta. It travels, there are parts that go up to the brain, out to the arms, yada yada yada. So we have all of this tubing, it's plumbing basically, and it comes down through your abdomen and goes to your kidneys, goes to your lungs, it goes everywhere. Every one of these 70 trillion cells needs to have nutrition, food, and it also needs to get rid of its waste. So let's go all the way down to the capillary level. I think you understand that you have the largest conducting vessels are arteries. And then the arteries will branch, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller as they branch, and there are 23 generations before you get to a capillary bed. So those are quite tiny. So we'll call this a capillary bed here. And so we have an artery coming in, and right before it branches into these capillaries, this area here is going to be an arteriole. And this is going to be a precapillary sphincter. And that'll make more sense when we get to that chapter. It's not really important right now. This is going to branch and go in here, and go in here, and go up here, and go. Now, remember this is three-dimensional, so you're going to have dimensions coming towards you and dimensions going away from you. And what happens when the blood comes in here, right? It's going to go in here, and it's going to leak out of the capillaries. The capillaries have cells. They'll look something like this. It's a simple squamous epithelium. You don't know what that is yet. But these cells have little pores in them. And the fluid inside this tube, right, this is a tube, capillary, all the blood in there is going to squeeze out through these pores and wash over this capillary bed, sort of like a tide pool. As it washes over this capillary bed, the pressure of this arteriole behind it is going to push it, and it's going to literally just wash over these cells, and anything that these cells need, they will absorb through osmosis, and all of their waste products will be washed away into the now venous side of the capillary bed. Now all of the oxygen has been taken out, so now we say the venous side is blue, and this goes back to the heart to be replenished. Okay? The whole point of studying anatomy and physiology is this right here. How do we take care of these cells right here? And the way we take care of them is we deliver nutrients to them in a way that they can avail themselves of those nutrients. So to get nutrients into the blood, We need to put the food that they need into the blood. The oxygen will go to. Minerals, vitamins, amino acids, AAs, amino acids, etc. We put all of that stuff into the blood. And how do we get food into the blood? Well, we do that with a digestive system. That's why we need that digestive system. So that our cells have the food to create the energy so that the cells can do their job. We have a urinary system to get rid of the waste of metabolism. It's just like if you had a car or your car. You transmute or transfer the energy from gas into mechanical energy. You put liquid gas into your tank, right? You pump it to the engine. It makes fire and explosion, which pushes pistons, and that's transmuted into mechanical energy. Simple. Then we have the respiratory system, because we need to get oxygen to the cells. Okay? And we need to get carbon dioxide out of the cells. So the blood will carry away the carbon dioxide, it'll carry away the urea, the uric acid, and that will be taken away. The immune system, of course, is protection of the cells. There's nothing better on this planet than a warm, luscious capillary bed like this for a bacteria, a virus, a fungus, anything to go in and take advantage of that, because it's prime living conditions. It's warm, it's wet, it has nutrition, has energy. So you're going to want to protect that against foreign invaders. That's why we have an immune system. Then we have a nervous system to control everything. We have 70 trillion cells, and we need to monitor what's happening so that these will be taken care of. And we do that through feedback loops. I know this is a lot of information. I want you to get a general idea. Sooner or later you'll find out all of this information in more detail. But I just want you to know that the whole point of having, 10 vital systems in your body is to deliver nutrition to these cells. Okay? That's the whole point of this video.